What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. In today's episode, I thought I would do something a little bit different and talk about some future Pokemon in Pokemon Go, specifically taking a look at Generation 5 and, of course, the top 10 by CP. Some of these Pokemon are definitely going to leave their mark in Pokemon Go once they get introduced. I have covered multiple generations in the past, and it has always been fun as well as a good learning experience to become more familiar with some of these Pokemon, because doing the research the first time that I had ever heard of them, some of them I have known from kind of like an outsider perspective, but I'm definitely excited about this. This should be a lot of fun to just take a look into the future. If you do enjoy this type of episode, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Coming in at the number 10 spot is Haxorus. So Haxorus has a max AP of 3,395. Haxorus is a pure dragon type Pokemon. Taking a look at this Pokemon from a statistical standpoint, it does have an incredible attack stat, which is definitely going to be helpful at 284. However, it is going to be a little bit more on the glass cannon side because its stamina is at 152, ranked out at 360th in Pokemon Go, an overall ranking of 111th. So something kind of interesting going on with Haxorus is the fact that it is a pure dragon type Pokemon. I find that kind of interesting. Does that mean that it could potentially outperform some other dragon type Pokemon that we have in the game that have on that flying type just because of its typing, maybe in something like PvP, for example? It should be an interesting Pokemon to take a look at, and it is a non-legendary, so it will theoretically be a little bit more available than some of the other ones. Number 9. Hydreigon, with a max AP of 3,401. Hydreigon is a dual type of dark and dragon typing. When we take a look at the stats, you will see that its best stat is its attack stat at 256. Its worst stat is its stamina stat as well, but it is going to be ranked out at 43rd overall in Pokemon Go. So unlike the last Pokemon, this Pokemon is a little bit more well-balanced, and it is also a non-legendary Pokemon, but considered to be a pseudo-legendary Pokemon because of the amount of stats that it has. I'm personally very excited about this. I do think that there will be quite a bit of competition because it does have a little bit lower of an attack stat. It's going to be interesting. I think it will probably be in the 2, 3 to 4 range from both the dark typing as well as from the dragon typing. But then of course we're going to have to see what moveset Pokemon Go ends up giving it, because it is definitely going to be the factor that will determine how good it will be. Number 8 is Landorus, with a max AP of 3,403. Landorus is a dual type of ground and flying type. Taking a look at the stats, its best stat, once again, the attack stat at 261, its worst stat being its stamina at 178th, an overall ranking, however, of 50th in Pokemon Go, and it is, of course, a legendary Pokemon, part of the Force of Nature, the Trio Master. So Landorus, how cool is this Pokemon? I cannot wait to be able to battle against it versus some raids. As far as that trio is concerned, I always thought that these were easily one of the more memorable Pokemon. As a person who did not even play Generation 5, these Pokemon easily stood out, and I have been more aware of them than really any of the other Pokemon within this generation. And as far as the typing is concerned, it's just an interesting combination altogether. The ground typing should be kind of an opportunity if you think about it, because there's really only other Pokemon like Groudon and then Garchomp, but beyond that, there's a lot of room for this Pokemon to kind of slot into the spots, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. Number 7. Terrakion, with a max AP of 3,468. Terrakion is a dual type of rock and fighting type. Taking a look at the stats, check it out. Its attack stat 260, ranked at 29th. Its worst stat being its stamina stat at 182. Its overall ranking is 41st in Pokemon Go. It is a legendary Pokemon and a member of the Sword of Justice. Wow, this Pokemon is going to be so much fun to play with. A very interesting typing combination if you think about it. This kind of gets you thinking whether or not this Pokemon is capable of maybe taking over a Machamp. But once again, it's definitely going to come down to the moveset. If it does not get Dynamic Punch, there's no way it will be able to compete with it. Then from the rock typing, you've got a Pokemon like Rampardos. That's going to be very hard to go up against. So I'm still going to be very excited just to kind of see how this Pokemon performs. And I'm always glad to add in a new legendary Pokemon. Number 6. belongs to Keldeo. With a max AP of 3,468, Keldeo is a dual type of water and fighting. Taking a look at the stats, its best stat being its attack stat at 260, its worst stat being its stamina, and overall ranking of 41st in Pokemon Go. So Keldeo is a mythical Pokemon, and what we were showing on the screen is its original form. So something interesting about the mythical Pokemon is they tend to get put into special research. I could easily see Keldeo being put into that. Who knows, maybe it could end up being put in as an EX raid boss. Kind of crossing my fingers on that way we could get more than one. But at least at some point, there's got to be some rarity aspect to it. Keldeo is one of the few Pokemon that I do actually know from Generation 5. Something that kind of stood out, and initially thinking like, oh, this Pokemon's probably not powerful, but as you can see, the CP is definitely showing that that is not the case. Number 5. Volcarona. With a max AP of 3,555, Volcarona is a dual type of bug and fire. If we take a look at the stats, its best stat is its attack stat at 264, its worst stat being its stamina at 170, and overall ranking of 45th in Pokemon Go. So this is a really cool Pokemon, one of the few non-legendary Pokemon that we've actually seen on this list. But besides that, of course, when you talk about the typing, what a strange combination, definitely a great one when you're talking about fire and then added it into the bug. I kind of like it, to be honest. It's definitely different for the most part. And bug type has a lot of opportunity for a new Pokemon to come in and become one of the best bug type attackers, of course, assuming the moveset. And then from the fire side, there's a little bit more competition. And then, of course, another one that we will see on this list. But I'm definitely excited to see how this Pokemon will end up performing once it gets introduced into the game. Number 4 belongs to Meloetta. Meloetta with a max AP of 3,950. Meloetta is a dual type of normal and psychic, of course talking about the area form in this case. Taking a look at the stats, its best stat is its attack stat at 250, its worst stat being its stamina, but even then it is very well rounded, an overall ranking of 13th in Pokemon Go. So once again, we have yet again another mythical Pokemon that has made it on this list. Definitely going to be an interesting Pokemon as far as the stats are concerned. This is definitely a very well-rounded Pokemon, which just kind of showcases in the CP, as well as an interesting typing of the normal along with the psychic. I find this Pokemon very interesting and very curious to see how it would perform. We haven't really seen too many great Pokemon from the normal typing, and so that would be interesting to see if this Pokemon could somehow become useful from that regard. So something that I am definitely going to keep an eye out on. Number 3 belongs to Kyurem. Kyurem with a max AP of 4,118. Kyurem is a dual type of dragon and ice type. Taking a look at the stats, check it out. Its stamina stat is amazing. Its attack stat is amazing. Its attack stat 270 does get the higher rank though. And then of course its worst stat is its defense stat, but it does have an overall ranking of 6 once it gets introduced into Pokemon Go. And it is a legendary Pokemon and a member of the Tau Trio. Definitely excited for this, and really just the rest of the list when we're getting into the top 3. These Pokemon are going to be insane. This Pokemon in particular has a really good opportunity, of course, from the dragon typing, but also from the ice typing. I'm very curious to see how it would perform. Would it be able to take out a Pokemon like Mamoswine? I personally do think that the legendary Pokemon should be doing better than most non-legendary Pokemon for the simple fact that they do cost a lot more to power up, and then of course you do get them raid locked when you get them as just a raid boss at level 20, and then of course weather boosted at level 25. So hopefully we will see a great performance out of this, but I'm ready to get into the top 2. So the next 2 Pokemon are actually going to be a tie via the stats, so we're going to go ahead and get into the first one. And that is Reshiram with a max AP of 4,654. Reshiram is a dual type Pokemon of dragon and then also a fire type. When we take a look at the stats, its best stat is its attack stat at 302. That is insane. And then its worst stat is its stamina, ranked at 108th, an overall ranking of 2nd in Pokemon Go. But technically when we say that, because there is a tie, it is the best Pokemon in Pokemon Go via the stats. Definitely excited about this. What a monster of a Pokemon. And one of the highlights related to this is the simple fact that its attack stat at 302, is higher than Mewtwo's in Pokemon Go, which means it has some major potential. If this Pokemon, of course, gets the right moveset, it could take it by storm from the Dragon typing as well as from the Fire typing, which is definitely exciting to see that. Whenever you get a Pokemon that theoretically could dominate from more than one type, that means that it has some major value invested into it. But like I said, we have 2 Pokemon that are going to be tied for this #1 spot. So let's go ahead and get into the other one. Zekrom with a max AP of 4,654. Zekrom is a dual type Pokemon of Dragon and then also the electric typing. Taking a look at the stats, it will be the exact same thing that we saw for Reshiram. Of course, we are going to see a little bit of a difference related to the typing, as well as theoretically a different moveset. But wow, this Pokemon is going to come out of right field or left field, whatever you want to call it, versus the electric typing. If it ends up getting the moveset that it needs, that's going to be ideal from the electric typing. You can say bye-bye to Raikou holding on to that #1 spot. And then kind of the same thing that we talked about with Reshiram from the Dragon typing. This Pokemon has some major potential to be able to get propelled to that #1 spot. Rayquaza definitely better watch out. Maybe, of course, not with its Mega Evolution, but at this current time, when these Pokemon get introduced, you can bet that they are definitely going to make an impact as soon as they get introduced into the game. So yeah, that just about wraps up the video. I, of course, want to know what you think about these Pokemon. Even if you've never heard of them before, which Pokemon was your favorite throughout this list, and which Pokemon are you looking forward to the most from Generation 5? Definitely let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you next time. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to the supporters over at Patreon. You definitely make this possible, and I 100% appreciate this support. If you are interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, definitely feel free to check out the link in the description.